will start by paying respect together and by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Homage to the sublime, the victorious, the totally self-enlightened one. In chapter 1 and in chapter 2, we have seen that we have talked about different kinds of consciousness and different kinds of Cittasikas, and also their combination, like what kind of Cittasikas go with what kind of consciousness. And so today we're going to start with some new information, which is about function. So as we have studied that there are 89 or 121 types of different cittas. So all these cittas perform a specific function at a different time. So here, if we look at the chart, and we see we have, let's look at here, the Lokiya cittas, the mundane cittas, divided into 2 groups. We have the Kamavachara cittas, which include the Akusala cittas, the rootless cittas, and then the beautiful cittas. And then we also have the sublime cittas, Mahagata cittas, the Rupavachara cittas, and the Arupavachara cittas, the cittas consciousness of the fine material plane and the non-material plane. And then they are further divided into 3 groups, and the Kusala cittas, the Vipaka cittas, resulting consciousness, and the functional consciousness. Then we have those that are out of the world, supermundane consciousness. Then we have 4 Magga of the 4 stages of enlightenment, and 4 Phala, 4 stages of the fruition consciousness as well. So every single citta has a function. So when they arise, they perform their function, and then they cease. So today we are going to talk about the functions of these cittas. Now, there are 14 kind of functions altogether. So that means all the 89 cittas, or 121, they perform at least one of these 14 types of function. And the first one that we are going to talk about is the rebirth linking function that is called Patisandhi. Now, this word Patisandhi in Pali, it means like joining or linking. So that's why it is called the rebirth linking. Okay, so to understand this, we have to first understand how life starts in the Buddha's teaching. Like, what is the first consciousness of a particular lifetime? So let's talk about human being in this case. So for a human being, a life begins with conception. So the conception here is called the rebirth, is what we refer to rebirth. So at the moment of conception, as a human being, there arises a type of consciousness, which is a vipaka citta, the resultant consciousness. And of course, together with citta, there are always Cittasikas, right? So this vipaka citta, together with its associated Cittasikas, and also there are some types of material properties that are caused by karma. So all these 3 will arise together at the same time. And that is what we call rebirth. So these 3, the group of these 3, rebirth consciousness, the vipaka citta, resultant consciousness with its Cittasika, and some kind of material properties that are caused by karma that arise together at the same time. So this is what we call rebirth. I mean, what kind of cittas can perform this relinking function? And for a human being, most of the time, the relinking consciousness is one of the Sahetuka Kamavachara Vipaka citta. So one of the sense sphere resultant consciousness with roots, most of the time, is this type of consciousness. And of course, rebirth linking consciousness is always a resultant consciousness, always vipaka citta. So it cannot be a wholesome kusala or akusala, but it will be result of kusala or akusala. So it's always vipaka citta perform the relinking function. Now let's see what other kind of cittas can perform this relinking function. We also have the Rupavachara Vipaka Cittas, the fine material resultant consciousness. For example, a person then practiced, a human being, he practiced jhana during his lifetime. And then when he passed away, that Rupavachara jhana citta will give result. And then the resultant, which is the Vipaka citta of that jhana, will give rebirth for his next life, the immediate next life. So in those cases, then this Rupavachara Vipaka citta serve as the rebirth linking consciousness for that being, no? And then in this case, this being will be reborn into the fine material world because of his jhana. Okay. So in the same way, Arupavachara Vipaka citta can also serve as a rebirth linking consciousness. And there are two more actually. Those are the two Upeka Santirana cittas, the investigating consciousness with neutral feeling. Remember, in the rootless consciousness, we have Akusala Vipaka and unwholesome resultant consciousness, the investigating consciousness, and also in the rootless wholesome resultant consciousness, we also have one investigating consciousness, right? So this investigating consciousness does not only perform the function of investigating, but it can also serve as a relinking consciousness. But of course, at a different time, no, not during the 5-door mental process. Now we are talking about the first citta that arise for being in a particular lifetime. Yeah. Okay. So these 19 types of cittas, resulting consciousness, can serve as a patisandhi, which is the relinking consciousness. Okay. So let's take a look. If a person or if a being is reborn with the investigating consciousness of the unwholesome resultant, then he will be reborn into one of these lower realms, the 4 lower realms. So all beings in the lower realm have this investigating consciousness as their rebirth consciousness. Now, for the rootless, wholesome resultant, or the wholesome resultant with roots, these two types of rebirth link consciousness serve as relinking for human and devas. So in the sense sphere and the Kamavachara realm. Then, of course, someone reborn into the Rupavachara realm, he will always have a patisandhi, a rebirth linking consciousness, which is one of the 5 material resultant consciousness. And for those beings that are reborn into the Arupavachara realm, the non-material planes, their rebirth consciousness must always be one of the non-material resultant consciousness. So these are the resultant consciousness of beings in the different realms. Okay, until here, is it clear? Yes, any question? Okay.
Sorry, I forgot, what is the investigating consciousness?
So
for the animal realm. Mm-hmm.
Investigating consciousness, do you remember when we talked about the unwholesome resultant consciousness? So when someone performed an unwholesome action, then we have unwholesome resultant, right? So those resultants, unwholesome resultants, are of different ones. We have the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, and those consciousness that takes the undesirable object as their object. Remember? Those are the unwholesome one. And then, the 5 senses, from the unwholesome resultant. Then we also have the investigating and the receiving consciousness and the investigating consciousness, right? So during a lifetime, if this unwholesome consciousness gives result, this kind of consciousness, they will serve as, let's say, receiving and investigating during the 5-door mental process. later on, we will see a graphic also in later part of the presentation. So remember, let's say I consciousness arises, we see something not nice. Then we have the receiving consciousness, the investigating consciousness, then the determining consciousness, and then the jhavanas, the how we react to it, right? So during lifetime, this investigating consciousness, it performed that function. But that same type of resultant consciousness, it can also perform another function, which is rebirth linking. So for beings who are born into this realm, their rebirth linking consciousness is that same type of consciousness, not the same one, because they arise and pass away, but the same type. This type of unwholesome resultant is the one that gives rebirth. That is the first chitta of the beings in the lower realm. Is that a bit more clear? Yeah? Okay, Mila. Yes, Claudia.
Hi. What I want to ask is, this chitta is the results of something, so of your previous life.
Yes.
But I heard that you cannot die when you are in jhana.
Exactly.
So how the people can have this quality of the mind when they die, because they have developed jhana throughout the life, or you
Yes.
need to be all right?
If someone as a human being, let's say, then he practiced jhana during his lifetime, and then throughout his life, he still kept this jhana quality. What does it mean by keeping the jhana quality? Meaning he still have the ability to enter into jhana and practice this jhana whenever he wish. Yes. So if he keep this ability until the end of life, then in the time of dying, of course, he is not in jhana. But because that is such a strong karma, that will give result. That will be the first one to give result for his next lifetime. So if he didn't lose his quality, then this rupavachara or arupavachara karma, this jhana will give result, and then he will have the rebirth into the fine material or the non-material realm with the resultant consciousness of that karma.
Can I ask another question, please?
Yes.
So, but for example, if a being have done always akusala, it is possible for him when is the moment of his death that some kusala chitta arise, and then he can reach any higher sphere. Or no, it's the same, the same. If you have done bad throughout your life, then even in the moment of death, you need to. It's more likely that you develop this kind of mindset.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because there is habit, right? So in chapter 5, when we talk about karma, it will be very clear, because in chapter 5, we will talk about which kind of karma give result first in the dying moment. So there are there are some karma that are very, very strong, that for sure they will give result first. So different kinds of karma that give result in the, the order of giving result. We will talk about that in chapter 5. So just a little bit more time and we will get
Thank
there.
you very much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Yes, Austin.
Hi. I just wanted to clarify, when we are talking about rebirth, conventionally, obviously, we're thinking of rebirth like, being dying and all that. But when we're talking in terms of the Abhidhamma, then we're talking in terms of momentary, moment to moment, and then from one moment to the other is also like a rebirth. And so that the new consciousness is always new. So the rekindling or whatever that is being said. Just to clarify about this rebirth is momentary. Or we're talking, what do you mean by being reborn?
When we talk about rebirth here, we mean a particular lifetime. So let's say a a human being, so when in conception, so the first chitta is the relinking consciousness will arise, right? So when relinking consciousness arise, that count as the start of one lifetime. Then that first chitta is called rebirth linking consciousness. So from that moment onwards, then many other types of chittas will continue to arise. And in the last moment, there is a death consciousness. In Pali, it's called Chuti Chitta. So when Chuti Chitta arises, that marks the last consciousness of that particular lifetime. And after Chuti Chitta, if the person is not totally enlightened, another rebirth linking consciousness will immediately arise after Chuti consciousness. And that's the starting of another life. So let's say this lifetime as Austin. So it started when you were conceived in your mother's womb. And from that moment when Patisandhi arise, and until all this, throughout this life that you will live, until the very last moment when Chuti Chitta arise, then Austin is no more, then will become another. If you are not totally enlightened in this lifetime, of course. Otherwise, no more chitta will arise.
So just a little bit more clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Like the difference that I'm understanding about from Chuti Chitta to the rebirth linking is that basically the only difference I can think of is that it doesn't have memory of the past, because otherwise, even if you take like Austin as an example, but Austin as a 1-year-old is a completely different being than, as a 20-year-old, for example. But maybe there is memory, etc. But if you take one so-called lifetime before, then there's no memory. And that's like the only difference. Otherwise, what's the difference, right?
Yes. Actually, in terms of moment, it's actually never ending. So sometimes my teacher, he uses this example. He said, for example, if we look at the mind, the continuum of the mind, so chitta arise, pass away, chitta arise, pass away, chitta arise, pass away, chitta arise, pass away, right? So all the time it's arising and passing, and continuously. So say now it is December 31st of December, midnight, 11:59, and it's midnight 12, right? So the next minute, it will become New Year, 2024, 1st of January, right? 1 minute after. So in the same way, the 1 minute after, we call that last year and New Year, but actually it's just exactly the next minute, right? The next minute. So in the same way, we call that the past life and we call that the present life, because that there is a difference, just like the New Year time, like 2003 now is 2004, but actually it's just like 1 minute, like any other minute that passed from one moment to the other moment. But because there is a change there, and so we called it a new life.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, welcome. Yes, Edith.
So I know we want to wait until the chapter 5 to talk about karma. It's just a very quick question. If you have, for example, all 3 kusala types, let's say 3-rooted kamavachara, resultant, 3-rooted rupavachara, arupavachara, and arupavachara. So all 3-rooted. Is there like an order which is the strongest?
You mean if a person, he has a lot of wholesome karma with 3-rooted,
yes,
he also practiced the rupavachara jhana, he also practiced the arupavachara jhana,
yes,
and specific order that it gives result.
Yeah.
So most of the time, most probably, if the person does not have a specific wish, then the highest one will give result. Let's say
that's what I assumed, but I didn't know how important is the wish. Like if you want to wish to be born in the I guess it's in the Tusita with the next Buddha or something. Would that be like stronger than Arupavachara resultant?
How strong is the wish and how to make this wish, I will have to confirm it with my teacher. But there are stories in the lifetime of the Buddha that there are beings that they have higher jhanas, but they wish to be reborn into like a lower Brahma realm or the Deva realm. That it is possible. There are these kind of examples. So I think it is possible. But exactly how it worked, and I have to ask my teacher again. I'll get back to you next. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Also, just related to this, like, is it important for a person who also meditates, but if they get reborn in the sensory heavens, let's say, to wish for which heaven you want to go?
Is it important to wish for which heaven?
Yes.
I would say that maybe, yes, because I have heard from my teacher that there are some Deva realms that the Dhamma is very popular there. So many devas, they discuss with each other, they talk about the Dhamma, and then they practice. And there are also places, it's just like the different areas, even in a country. So there are this area, people like this thing, the area that people like the other things, no? So there are some areas of devas that they enjoy a lot, or like, you know, so like different territories or places, no? So I would say, I have heard my teacher say, he said, if he was to reborn, he wished to reborn into the Deva realm where the Deva practices and discussed about the Dhamma. So I think it is,
yeah. I heard the same thing about this. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, Claudia.
I think today 5 minutes of explanation and 2 hours of question we're gonna have. My question is, like, if your destiny is to you as a human being now to be reborn in a womb, another one, whatever, animal or human, because the Citta and Cittasika are continuously, you will need a womb in order to continue, and this womb is straight away. So once you die, then the next moment you need to be reborn in any womb, depending on your karma.
Yes, exactly. Not any, but depending on your karma, on the karma of that person, then a suitable place, because just only the birth consciousness is not good enough. There must be other conditions, no? So
just because in my mind I think there is not some occasion where Citta and Cittasika just rise and ceasing in somewhere that is not specified, like is an empty space in nothing, right?
Like Bardo.
And then, sorry?
Like the Tibetan do you call that Bardo or something?
I don't know. I never heard about it. It's just this is my thought.
No, actually, after death consciousness, rebirth consciousness immediately arises. There is no waiting. There is no standby, no waiting room.
All right. So it's like in one of these 5 plane of 31 plane of existence, you need to immediately reborn in somewhere.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this is a nightmare.
Yes.
I was thinking
I wanted to mention to you, Claudia, that the mind is dependent on the base, and in this case, it always needs a material form or some type. Not always, except the Arupavachara.
Yes. Yeah, but in case of Arupavachara and Rupavachara, you were reborn spontaneously.
Exactly.
And you don't need a womb.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
In later chapters, we'll also talk about the different kinds of birth. Some beings are born in like an egg. like birds and snakes and like egg-born beings. And then we have moisture-born beings like mosquitoes. And then we have womb-born beings. And we have spontaneously born being like the Brahmas or Devas, some Devas like that. So yeah, the later chapter we will also talk about that. But yes, immediately there is no waiting room, no transit. So not like going to the airport, you wait for somewhere in the gate, and when there is a flight that you go, no, not like that. Immediately after the death consciousness, rebirth consciousness immediately arise.
This is so fascinating, really interesting.
Yes.
So isn't there like this Pret Lok is similar to ghost, and there's no concept of ghost?
There is a realm, Peta.
Peta is the realm. It's a ghost, right?
Yes, it's a realm. So sometimes, there are some people who think that a person die and he become a ghost, and so he's waiting for another rebirth like that. So, but actually, to be a ghost is actually already a new rebirth, a new life. So it's the life in the Peta realm, and then for however long it may be, then that life he must also pass away in order to be reborn into, let's say, a human or other being. No. Yes, Claudia.
Yeah, but for example, for ghost, it is really likely that a human being is quite attached to something in that life, and then when they die, of course, they're gonna reborn in that realm, in that human being realm again, because they was attached to somebody or to some object.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is actually not the human realm, it's the Peta realm, but we share the same space.
In the earth.
In the earth, yes. Let's say human beings share space with animals, right? We see dogs and cats and birds. They also live here. So there are some Petas or some Devas, earth-bounded Devas. They also live in this vicinity, in this area. So we share space, but it's a different realm.
But they can practice the Dhamma?
Peta?
Yeah.
Unlikely.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But there are stories of being born in Peta for few days and come back to human and things like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Depending on the karma of that person. Yeah. So they that lifetime as a human, they passed away and reborn into the Peta realm for however much time, few days, few months, or whatever it may be. Then he passed away in that Peta life and be reborn into a human or another being, no?
Right. So in Peta realm, is there a concept of conception? No, right?
I have to check again, but I remember that I think it is possible that there are ghosts also be born in womb born. I think there are also. I have to check again, but I'm sure that there are some Devas that are womb born, and some Devas are spontaneously born.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So shall we continue? Okay, so now we see that there are these different kinds of rebirth consciousness that belongs to the different realms or different planes. So let's take a look now of the rebirth linking function. Okay, so let's talk about human being. Yeah, so a human being. Let's say the rebirth consciousness is this kusala vipaka with roots. No, let's say. Okay, so let's take it this as the rebirth consciousness of a particular human being in a particular lifetime. Okay, so the function of this patisandhi, the rebirth linking consciousness, is of course linking. No, so it's like from one lifetime. That particular lifetime finished, and immediately after the death consciousness, then rebirth consciousness will arise, and that marks the beginning of one particular lifetime. Yeah. So, and then at this moment, this vipaka citta, this resultant consciousness, is called patisandhi citta, rebirth linking consciousness. But this same type of resultant consciousness does not only arise one time. So when it arises as the first citta, it is called the rebirth linking. It performed that patisandhi function. And after that, throughout his lifetime, the same type of resultant consciousness will arise again and again and again and again in his lifetime as bhavanga, as life continuum citta. So when a person, let's say a particular good karma gave result, so he was reborn as a human being, and that karma, that same types of resultant consciousness will continue to arise, will give resultant again and again and again throughout his lifetime as bhavanga citta until the end, the last moment of his life. And this same type of vipaka citta again will arise to perform the function of death consciousness as chuti citta. So that means in a particular lifetime, the first citta and all the bhavanga cittas that arise throughout his life and the chuti citta, the last consciousness, the death consciousness of that particular lifetime, are of the same type of resultant consciousness. Not the same consciousness, because consciousness arise and passed away immediately, but they are the same type of consciousness. Yeah. So vipaka citta, actually, they are very powerful and very strong. They don't give only one result. So it's not like I perform one action and there is one result, one resultant consciousness, but actually a lot of vipaka cittas arise throughout his life. No? Yes, Austin.
So this is not affected by the karma of the individual's life during the lifetime, or is it just so strong that it might be affected, but it's still overpowering and continuing its growth?
This particular resultant is actually something that we have done in our past life. Maybe not exactly immediate past life, can be previous, or who knows how many lifetimes ago. That is possible. That is possible. But that is not actually not exactly related to the present experience or present karma that we are experiencing right now. So those are result of wholesome karma that we did in the previous life, and then the result, the good result it gave as a rebirth as a human being, and to maintain life, this bhavanga citta have a function to, the function of bhavanga citta is actually to maintain life, to continue. So that's why it's called life continuum. So remember, in the thought processes, between the active processes, there are always bhavanga cittas, right? So bhavanga cittas, when there is nothing special, nothing active happening, bhavanga cittas keep running, keep life alive, keep us alive. No, actually. So bhavanga, and something happened, then the mental process of the five door process or the mind door process happens, and then when that process finished, then again bhavanga continues. So Sayadaw Usilananda says that he liked to use the example like it's like a buffer song. So it's when nothing happens, so bhavanga, and something happened, then the active cittas arise, then no more active citta, then bhavanga. So it keeps us alive all the time, and it is the same resultant of the previous karma, the one that gave us this birth.
Yeah, no, I got that. I was just trying to clarify whether it is possible to have such strong karma in the present life that you can change the bhavanga in the sense that, like a human being can become a deva without dying, for example.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't understand your question. No, it is not possible. Mm-hmm. It must finish from this beginning until this end, this chuti. Then after that, then there is, if the person during this lifetime performed a very strong karma, then after this chuti, then that may give result as the rebirth of the next life. But it cannot change within one life.
Okay, Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Claudia.
Is this the same for akusala as well?
Yes,
Or-
same.
Okay.
Chuti must arise before another life begins. This death
No,
consciousness.
that I understand. So that means like you carried over, like, good or bad from past. That means same you will maintain, right? If you don't do anything. But during the lifetime you do something, and that should change the equation, right? It should not be the, you know what I'm saying?
During the lifetime, yes, of course, during the lifetime, we do new karma, right? And those
Right.
karma, they will give result even in this present lifetime. But those result that is given during lifetime will never perform the rebirth linking, because we are still alive, no? So we must die first before another new life arises. So if it gives result, it might give other types of result. For example, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, taste, smell. So if we perform good thing during this lifetime, we may in this very life receive, let's say, eye consciousness, that we see some desirable object, or we hear some nice sound, or whatever it may be. But those are during lifetime resultant. The bhavanga, the rebirth linking, and the chuti in one lifetime cannot change. It will be the same type throughout his life. Is that clear, Amar?
No, still I'm not
clear?
that much clear. So basically, this tells them, I thought, this is the concept of Hindu. So that basically what they say is whatever you carry, that will never change. But in our Buddhism, we actually have a potential to change.
Of course.
What we carry. Yeah. So in
Yes.
this case, it is not changed, right? For basically, it is the same.
No. Wait. Okay. What is not changing is the bhavanga chitta. But what is changing is the new karma that you are planting. And then you get new resultant, right?
Right. So but in the chuti chitta, you have the same. So that means next chitta will again carry over, right?
No. Okay, wait, Amar. You in the next slide, it will become clear. Okay. Just
okay.
wait 1 minute. Okay. Yes, I will. Let's listen to Claudia's question, and then we'll go to the next slide, and it will answer Amar's question. Okay.
Sorry, just a quick question. So I didn't know with this information that you gave, that all this chitta from this life, from rebirth linking to death chitta, they are all the same. But so then what is changed is the fact that kuti chitta must be different from the moment somebody death to the moment that you're born again. So the rebirth linking chitta will be different, must be different, right? Something slightly different, but cannot be the same.
Look, okay. So this is actually same question as Amar's question. So let's go to the next slide, and it will become clear. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, so let's go to the next one now. Okay, so if you see carefully the little dots here, yeah, you see a different color, no? It's a blue, and here white, and then yellow, yeah? So let's say in this particular lifetime, this baby, he was born in the from conception until he passes away. So during this particular lifetime, the rebirth linking consciousness and the bhavanga chittas and his death consciousness, meaning the last chitta of this lifetime, yeah, okay, this lifetime will always be the same. But we're only talking about same type of will be the same type of resultant consciousness. We're only talking about these three functions, yeah. Patisandhi, rebirth linking, life continuum, and death. Of course, in between there are many different chittas, no? Because he will perform good deeds, he will perform bad deeds, and he will do many things in his lifetime. Well, now we're talking about the non-active chitta. Remember, vipaka chitta is non-active. So here is not what he is doing in this lifetime. Yeah, only we're talking about non-active. Okay. So before that, his last Chuti Citta is a different Citta. And the Bhavanga of past life is also different. Yeah. So maybe last life he was this lady. So this lady, these Bhavanga Cittas come from a last life of this lady, right? So the rebirth consciousness of this person, let's say in this lifetime, she performed a lot of good deeds or many things good deeds. So in the last moment after death consciousness, then one of the good resultant consciousness that she one of the good karma, good deed that she performed during her lifetime gave result as this red apple, as this rebirth linking, right? So it's different from this green apple, no? Because this one came from her past life, yeah? So now it's a new life, so become this, okay? So throughout this lifetime, he is reborn as this cute little boy. And then throughout all his life, then he has this same type of rebirth, same type of resulting consciousness because of this wholesome deed. And after he passed away, whatever he did in this lifetime, if he did something good, then that good karma will give result as this yellow apple, different from this one, yeah, will be different. So give the first rebirth consciousness will be a result from something good he did in this life, or maybe even previous lives, right? So from that, this from after Chuti immediately Patisandhi, then it started a new life, and then throughout this new life, that Bhavanga Citta will also be of that same type. Yeah. So now we are talking about 3 lifetimes here. So different rebirth, different Chuti consciousness from the past life, then immediately different rebirth consciousness will arise. Then it will go all throughout his life with that same type of resulting consciousness, serving as rebirth, Bhavanga, and death. Then another lifetime will be another rebirth consciousness, another result of a different karma. Is that clear now, Amar?
Yes, very good.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Claudia, clear?
Yeah, it is very clear. Thank you, because I didn't understand. I was thinking that the two are the same. Once you're dead and once you born again. So this is make everything clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. All right. So now we are talking about in case this person, he did a lot of good deed during his lifetime, he's being generous and keeping the sila, whatever, then he has been reborn into a human being again, in this lifetime. Now, what about if he done other types of good deeds, and the rebirth can give him this kamavachara, sense sphere, wholesome, resultant consciousness can also give rebirth into the Deva realm. Yeah, he did a lot of good deeds. He might be reborn into the Deva realm. That is also possible, right? So throughout his Deva lives, then the rebirth linking, and then the Patisandhi will also be the same until he finished the Deva life. The Chuti Citta will arise again. Yeah. Okay. Then what about if this gentleman, he practiced Rupa Vachara Jhana during his lifetime? Yeah. So he practiced jhana. Then after his death consciousness, then what will arise will be a fine material rebirth linking consciousness, right? So then he will be reborn into the Brahma realm, the fine material realm. And throughout his lifetime, the same type of fine material resultant consciousness will be his Bhavanga Citta. Yeah. Okay. Say this person, throughout his lifetime, he did a lot of unwholesome deed, and some unwholesome karma give result. Yeah. So this resultant will be what? The investigating consciousness, right? The upeka santirana, no? The investigating consciousness associated with neutral mental feeling of the unwholesome resulting consciousness. Yeah. So if that give a rebirth linking consciousness, then he might be reborn into the lower realm, and throughout his lifetime, his Bhavanga will be the same type of unwholesome investigating consciousness, no? So in the animal realm or in any other woeful state, or the lower birth. Yeah. Okay. So these 3 must always be the same type of consciousness during a particular lifetime. Only when a person, say, he practiced vipassana meditation and he attained arahatship in this very life, then because of that, then there will be no more rebirth, and that's it. Then that is the what should be done has been done. Like the Buddha said, no, the holy life has been lived. What should be done has been done. So there is no more birth for him. So only in this case, it will not continue. Okay, so that's the function of rebirth, linking consciousness, patisandhi. So that's the first function that we talked about. Okay, until here, everything clear? Yeah, okay. So let's continue with the next function. Now, the next function that we're going to talk about is bhavanga, the life continuum. So let's take the 5 Doha mental process as an example. Now, what bhavanga does is actually to maintain life. Now we have just talked about. So when there is no active chitta going on, then there is also bhavanga. And when there is something happening, then active chittas will happen, and then bhavanga will arise again. So this is during the 5 Doha mental process. And in the same way for the mind Doha mental process also. So when there is nothing happening, bhavanga, and when something happens, then active mind will arise, and then bhavanga will arise again. So in between the different mental processes, there's always some bhavanga in between, no? So Silananda called it like the buffer zone, no? So that's why we put a neutral here. It's just like when driving a car, you go back to neutral, and then something happened, then you go to a different gear, and then you move on, and then when nothing happened, then it comes back to neutral. Yeah. Okay, so actually, bhavanga is most evident when we are in deep sleep, when dreamless sleep. When we are dreaming, actually, mind is being active. Yeah. So when there is no dream and mind is in deep sleep, so bhavanga will arise again and again, arise, until something active happens. So when something happens, then bhavanga chitta will get interrupted. Right. So when an object presents itself to the sense, let's say in this moment, the person who was sleeping very deeply, but then the alarm rings, right? So when the alarm rings, then what happened is that the object presented itself, and this presenting is sometimes called impinging. So the sound appears, a sound happens, and then it comes to the avenue of the ear, that the sound impinge on the ear as well as on the bhavanga chittas. Then bhavanga chittas is being interrupted, then it vibrates and shakes for a moment, and then after that, second moment, then bhavanga chitta will stop, and immediately after that, the 5 Doha averting consciousness will arise. But something is happening, right? So sound is happening, and then so bhavanga chitta vibrates and stop, and then the mind knows, oh, okay, some sound. So the mind is turning, right? Active. It's becoming active now. So it turns to the object, which is a sound in this case. Then after that, then ear consciousness, sota vijnana, ear consciousness will arise, taking the sound object, then receiving consciousness, investigating consciousness, determining consciousness, then jhana will arise 7 times of same type of jhana. Now here, for jhana, it may be if the person is having a good day, maybe listening sound, oh, it's a good day, now I'm gonna wake up on something, so maybe kusala will arise, right? If he's very sleepy and he doesn't want to wake up, and then he gets angry about the alarm, then maybe dosa mula chitta will arise. No, so here it depends on the attitude of the person. So here, because of jhana, because we are able to be depending on our knowledge, on our wisdom, on our attitude, we can change, because jhana are the place where we plant seeds, right? So just a little while ago, Ahmad was saying that in the Buddha's teaching, our destiny, there is no fixed destiny, right? So we can change. That's here where we change, right? Here, if we respond with kusala, with wholesome, consciousness, then later on, wholesome resultant will arise. That's how we change the course of life, right? So if we react with unwholesome consciousness, then unwholesome resultant will arise later. So here, our reaction is very important, because these other types of consciousness, they are either functional or resultant. So we cannot change them. Functional just arise, perform the function, and are gone. And resultant is already result of something we did already. So that's also not possible to change. But what can be changed is here, right? So it's important. The jhavanas are very important. Okay, then after that, after the jhavanas, then an aftertaste, the tadaramana, two of this type of consciousness will arise. Then bhavanga will arise again. Okay, we will talk about all these functions later on, but now let's focus on the bhavanga, as we're talking about the second function. So for a mind or mental process, is the same. So bhavanga, 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 bhavanga. Then when something happens, the mind thinking about something, then mind or averting consciousness will arise and it become active. Then we react to whatever it may be. Then the tadaramana and the bhavanga will arise again. So bhavanga cittas, yes.
Mind or I see one bhavanga more than the other.
Not necessarily. Just here, I just put, because it maybe if he was sleeping, so bhavanga, 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 then he start dreaming, also possible in this way. So how many bhavanga in between thought processes are not fixed, depend on the situation of the person. So sometimes more, sometimes less.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, not fixed. Okay. All right. Okay, so when something happens, then bhavanga citta is interrupted and an active mind will arise. After that mental process, for 5 door mental process, usually 17 mind moments will arise, then bhavanga arise again. For mind door process, usually 10, and then will arise again. So these also vary. But in chapter 4, we are going to look at the different types of mental processes, and then by the time it will become more clear. But for the moment, let's take a classic mental process as an example. Yeah. Okay. Now, so we finished with the bhavanga function. Let's go to another function, which is the turning. Yeah. Oh yes, edit before we go there. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking right now, I'm listening to you. Sometimes my eye consciousness is active, then my ear consciousness is active, and then just start thinking about what you said and so on. So this is like just repeating and going over and over again. I'm just wondering, is there like a minimum amount of bhavanga that has to arise between these active processes?
Let me check again. I don't remember exactly at the moment if there is a minimum amount, but I just remember the amount can vary. But I will check and get back to you. Okay.
But the question is, minimum 1 has to be there, right, between processes.
Yeah, I think there is always some bhavanga happens before
yes.
Another process. In between processes, there are always bhavanga.
So when we are actively watching ourselves, being mindful, that's the space that you see, right? Like between processes that.
Not exactly, because actually bhavanga is almost unnoticeable, because
that's what I mean. Like there's nothing sort of like you perceive it as
That's because they are not active. For example, when we are practicing and we are watching the mind, actually, what are most obvious to us that we can conceive more clearly are most of the time the jhavanas. So, yes. And also this sati is together with kusala citta, no? So it only arises these moments. And,
okay.
Yeah. So in these other moments, and they are not doing that job. Right. So they arises, they are vipaka. So they arise naturally because they need to arise.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and also just another interesting thing to think about. Always, whenever we are aware of something, we are always late. We always
That's
aware
what
of
I
something
was
that passed.
thinking just now. That isn't that you're remembering that space that you just saw or something.
Yeah,
You're kind of late, right?
yes, always late.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when we say present object for Vipassana meditation, that present is a little bit wider than just the exact present moment of this jhavana at this moment, because whatever we are aware of something in the past. But that's still that is still the considered as the present moment, something that is arising during Vipassana meditation, no? But not like microscopically present moment like that. The range is a little bit bigger than present moment. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so now we're talking about the turning function, no? Or sometimes called the adverting function. No? So after Bhavanga, then we have another function which is performed by these two particular citta, the Panchadwara Vajana and the Manodwara Vajana. No? So the 5-door averting consciousness and the mind-door averting consciousness. So starting from this point, from that moment onwards, the mind turns towards the object, and active thought moments begin from here. So all these are considered active, yeah. And the Bhavanga, they are non-active, right? Okay, so from here, then the mind become active and receiving objects, no? Okay, so that's the function of the function that is called avajana, and is performed by these two cittas, these two functional cittas. Okay. Now, after that, then we have another different functions. Let's see. Now, taking the 5 sense door mental processes example, this eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body consciousness, they each performed a specific function. So very obviously, eye consciousness perform what function? Seeing function, right? Ear consciousness to hear, smell and taste and the touch, right? So this specific function of seeing, of hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching are performed specifically by eye consciousness, ear consciousness, smell conscious, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness, which can be the Dvipancha Vijnana, no? They are either the wholesome resultant or unwholesome resultant, rootless, right? So these 5 perform their specific function, each of them, okay? Then after that, we have what? We have receiving, investigating, and determining. So these 3 are also 3 different types of functions that are being performed by cittas, yeah? Okay, so this receiving and the investigating consciousness, as we remember, it is also the these two type of the rootless resultant consciousness, either wholesome or unwholesome, right? And then this determining consciousness is a type of functional consciousness, the same type as the Manodwara Vajana, the mind-door averting consciousness, remember? The mind-door averting consciousness can perform 2 functions. Mind-door averting as well as the determining in the 5 sense door process, but they are the same type of consciousness. Yeah? Okay. So after that, what happened? After that comes the jhavana, which is the important part, yeah? So jhavana sometimes are translated as impulsion, but most of the time, even in the Abhidhammata Sangaha, the comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma, Bhikkhu Bodhi, also he wrote, it's better leave it untranslated, this word jhavana, because it's difficult to have one English word that represents what it means. Yeah. So literally, it means running swiftly with force. That's literal meaning of jhavana. And so jhavana is the stage where the mind actually fully experiences the object. So the full experience of the object occurs as the stage of the jhavana here. All the other parts, they are just preparing, or they're getting the object, but here is how we react to it, how we fully experience the object. So before this stage, the functions like the averting, and then the receiving, investigating, determining, and all these functions, they are done by ahetuka cittas, right? Or functional cittas. So rootless consciousness or a functional consciousness. So they are quite weak. Remember, when the consciousness is without root, then it's quite weak, yeah? So here, when it is jhavana, then they become strong. And it is here that we can either, depending on the attitude, either wholesome consciousness or unwholesome consciousness can arise only in the jhavana moments, as jhavana, no? The function of jhavana. So akusala or kusala cittas only arise here. Okay. So if we have the correct attitude or good attitude towards the object, then kusala will arise. And if we have the not good attitude or incorrect attitude, then akusala will arise. But of course, for a totally enlightened being, this also here, this process is also arise. But what will arise here? Kriya cittas, no? Functional cittas. Although they will always do good, but because they do not plant seeds anymore, so therefore here only functional cittas will arise for a fully enlightened being. Yeah, instead of kusala or akusala. Yes, Claudia.
Like now that you talk about this one, I think that it is when I am angry, for example, there is this almost a push that my body maybe want to move or I want to raise my voice. But when I do something good, there is like this sensation of softness, of lightness. So maybe this one is because of the force of the jhavana. Or no?
In a way. Well, sorry, Claudia, could you switch off your mic because I think there is a feedback. Yeah, thank you. All right. So please switch on when you need to talk, okay? Yeah. All right. So during the jhavanas, this is where we have, where the akusala cittas or the kusala cittas arise. Now, when you are saying that there is like almost like even a physical feeling, right? That accompanies this. Actually, in chapter 6, when we talk about rupa, about material property, that will become more clear because there are some kinds of rupa, material property in our body that are generated by mind. So that might be related to those, no? More related to those. Then, of course, those are like if you are talking about dosa mula citta, then anger-rooted consciousness, then those consciousness will produce also some kind of material property, and that's what like the heat or the things that we feel, no? Or the calmness when we are feeling peaceful and good like that. So those are related also in this way. In chapter 6, it will become clear. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's continue. Okay. A little bit. Okay. Now, after jhavana, after our attitude depends on our attitude, our reaction, the full experience of the object. After that, then there occurs this tadaramana function. So 2 moments of registration, in English it's called registration, will arise after that. And actually this Pali word, let's take a look, is actually made of tat plus aramana. Tat means that, and aramana means object. So tadaramana actually, literally, it means something that has that object. Now, that object refers to the object that is taken by the jhavana. That means the 2 registration consciousness, tadaramana, take the same object as the jhavanas. It is like the aftertaste of the experience, no? So the 2 moments of tadaramana takes the same object as is taken by the jhavanas, and many times it is compared like to the water that follows the boat. So the boat is like the jhavana with force, it's gone, and then there leaves a little bit of like the aftertaste, no? So this wave, the water after it, it's the example of tadaramana. So tadaramana not necessarily arise all the time. it can arise or it cannot arise depending on how strong the object was. But later on in chapter 4, when we study mental processes, then we will see all kind of processes, some like when they arise, when they do not arise, or why and how. Yeah. But when they arise, it is called the registration. Yes, Edith.
So I've been waiting for this Tadaramana to come up and ask about it. So we are not going in deep with this subject then?
Not at the moment. In later chapters, we will talk more about Tadaramana. But here we are just introducing the different functions of Cittas, and later we will go into actually more details with all of them. Yeah. Okay.
But just a quick question about it. Is it also resultant?
Yes.
Okay.
This today
or
we will
functional. I don't know. Like.
Yeah. Today we will see. After introducing all these functions, we will see what kind of Cittas perform these kinds of functions.
Thank you.
We will see what can be Tadaramana. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Amar.
No, I had the same question. So
okay, so it's coming.
It's basically resultant. There's no Javana type of Chitta in Tadaramana, right?
No, not Javana types, but you will see. Now we will give the list and you will see which type of Chitta can perform which kind of function. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So that's Tadaramana, and its function is the aftertaste, right? So with this, we have actually completed all the 14 functions, and we are going to now look at which kind of Cittas perform which function. Yeah. Okay. So let's just a quick review what kind of functions are there. We have rebirth linking, bhavanga, Chuti. So when you see the Pali word, C-U, it's written as C-U-T-I. When you see C-U, it is pronounced as Chu. So C, for example, C-A, like my name, C-A is Cha, not Ka. No, but in English we might say Ka or different pronunciation, but in Pali it's Chu. So C-U is C-U-T-I, pronounced as Chuti Chitta. Okay, all right. Okay, so we have Patisandhi, rebirth, linking, bhavanga, Chuti. Then we have the avajana, the 5-door averting, and the mind door averting, the averting function. Then we have the 5 senses, seeing function, hearing function, smelling, tasting, and touching function. Then we have receiving function, investigating function, determining function, as well as the javana function and the Tadaramana, the aftertaste function. So all together 14 functions. Yeah. Now, these 14 functions are done by the 89 or 121 types of Cittas. So whenever a Citta arises, it always performed one of these 14 functions. And after it performs this function, it passes away. So all of these Cittas, in different moments, they may perform a different function, but they always arise performing a function. Now, there is just one detail. Although there are 14 functions, the place or stage where they do their function are only 10. It sounds a little bit confusing, but now you will see. Now, bhavanga always arise between the active moments. No, when there are no active moments, so bhavanga will arise. So this is the place where bhavanga should arise. Yeah. After bhavanga, what happens is the averting consciousness. So averting consciousness always arise in this place. When there is a new object, it always arises here after bhavanga. So after bhavanga, it cannot immediately jump to javana, no, for example. It is not its place, no, not there yet. So it has a natural order. So after bhavanga, then the panchadwara vajana, in this case, the 5-door averting consciousness will arise. After that, then this seeing consciousness will arise depending on the object. But as you see, after the 5-door averting consciousness, what may arise will be, depending on the object, eye consciousness, ear, nose, tongue, or touch. No, any of this can arise at this place, depending on the object. Yeah. So that means these 5 functions arise in the same place. Yeah. Okay. They will not arise at the same time, of course, but they always arise after the 5 door averting consciousness. So therefore, and after that, what happened? The receiving consciousness will always come after one of the 5 sense consciousness. Right? So this is his place. So this is his place. So if you see the stage during the mental process, then we see that these ones, they arise in the same stage at a different time, depending on the object. So therefore we say, although there are 14 functions, there are only 10 places, 10 stage where the different functions arise. Is that clear? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So because of these ones. Yeah. Okay. So although there are 14 functions, the place or stage where they do the functions are only 10. So, and then this place or stages in Pali is called Thana. Thana. Okay. So function is called Kicha. And the place or the stage is called Thana. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the what kind of citta can perform which kind of function. But before that, maybe you want a break. No, now it's already 9:13. Yeah. So let's take a break. So see you in 5 minutes, and coming back, we will see what kind of cittas can perform what kind of functions. Okay. All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone. So content is getting interesting, right? When we get to this point about rebirth and about how life works, and it's really fascinating and really interesting. And also, I would like to congratulate everyone, because it takes patience to finish all the content of chapter 1, all the content of chapter 2. And then because of understanding cittas and cittasikas, then we can talk about this more interesting content, about functions and about all these things. Otherwise, we won't be able to understand. So, and from now on, it's getting, it will get even more and more interesting, because later we're going to talk about karma and the mental processes, and then about rupa, about the body matter as well. And also how mind and matter are related to each other. So all these things are really interesting. So slowly, we will get there, and the information will be more complete and serving the purpose of understanding ourselves, understanding about nama and rupa. So my teacher always said, why do we want to know about all these things? Besides, it is interesting. We want to know this not only because it is interesting, but because of practice, right? Because of vipassana. This is for vipassana, the first stages of understanding are the understanding of nama and rupa first. Then we have to understand the causes, and then from then we can develop to understand the anicca, dukkha, and anatta. But the base, we must first understand what we call I is actually not I. It's just nama and rupa, the five aggregates, combination of the 5 aggregates. All right. Okay, so until here, about the functions. Yes, Edith?
Just wanted to ask, because Mila was asking me, like, how is there any difference with different types of bhavanga, as like continuum or rebirth thinking consciousness? And I was saying yes, and gave her some response. But I'm wondering, when is that topic coming?
Different type of bhavanga, different types of consciousness.
Rebirth, yes.
Rebirth consciousness.
How is it different? Yes.
How is it different? Or you mean what kind of cittas can perform bhavanga function, or what is the question?
For the human, for example, or deva, is there any difference? So
yes. There are some. Oh yes, there are differences. So just briefly, as an teaser introduction, like of the coming chapters, some rebirth consciousness for human being, as you see, there are no roots, right? the rootless investigating consciousness can also be a citta, rebirth linking consciousness. Then we have the consciousness with roots, and with roots also are divided into 2 roots or 3 roots. You remember the 3 types of beautiful roots? There are adosa, alobha, and amoha, right? So adosa, non-greed and non-hatred. This alobha and adosa, as they are universal cetasikas, they must always be there. If it is a consciousness with root, so it will always be 2-rooted. With two roots, no, at least. And if wisdom is also associated, then it will be 3 roots. 3-rooted. So there are different types of rebirth consciousness, but depending on exactly the karma that was done and how it is being done, because how the karma is being done also affects the result. So the result, even if a karma is performed with wisdom, if it does not fulfill some requirements, the resultant can become 2-rooted. Unfortunately. So it is possible. So in chapter 5, in the karma chapter, we are going to talk about that. So as a human being, it is possible that we are born with investigating consciousness without root, wholesome resultant, or 2-rooted wholesome consciousness, or 3-rooted wholesome consciousness. That is possible for human and for deva. And for Brahmas, of course, they must be reborn with their specific rupa vachara vipaka or arupa vachara vipaka, no? And for the woeful state, they must always be the investigating consciousness associated with neutral feeling, unwholesome resultant. That must be always like that. So, later on in chapter 5, it's going to be very interesting when we talk about karma, like what kind of result it gives, the order of its giving result, and all this. So it will come. All right. So for now, let's take a look at the table. So we know what kind of consciousness can perform what kind of function, right? Okay. Everyone ready? Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look. Now, here on this side, we have consciousness, and here we have function. So we see the 14 types of functions are listed here. And then we see, let's say, the first type, the 12 akusala cittas, the first 12 unwholesome consciousness, what function can they perform? So we can see only jhāvana. Yes, only jhāvana. So akusala cittas can only arise during the jhāvana moments, no any other moments, because they are active, they're doing something, they are planting seeds. So they arise in the jhāvana moments only. Now, eye consciousness perform what function? Very obviously, seeing function only, because eye consciousness cannot do other things other than seeing. So they have only one function. Then ear consciousness, only hearing. Nose consciousness, only smelling. Tongue consciousness, only tasting. Body consciousness, only touching. And the receiving consciousness here, also only receiving. They only do their specific task, their specific job. They don't do anything other than that. But when you look at the investigating consciousness associated with neutral feeling, one wholesome resultant and one unwholesome resultant, you see it can be rebirth linking consciousness for beings in the four woeful state. It can be bhavanga for those beings that are reborn with that patisandhi. And then it can also perform, of course, chuti, because rebirth, life continuum, and death, patisandhi, bhavanga, and citta, they are of the same type of consciousness, So it is possible. And also it can perform the investigating consciousness in the 5 sense door mental process, as well as tadaramana. So investigating consciousness, it can perform 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 functions. 5 functions in different occasions, So if it arises as the first citta in that lifetime, result given by an unwholesome or a wholesome karma, then it performs patisandhi. If it performs patisandhi throughout that life, it will also perform, that same type will also perform bhavanga and chuti, no? Then if it arises in an investigate, it can be the same with, then for this one investigating, it can be from the same karma or the different karma. It doesn't matter. It is not necessarily the karma that bring that rebirth, right? So it can be different ones. Then when it is in the 5-door mental process, it will perform the investigating function there. And also it can perform also the tadaramana function, also possible. Okay, so when does this tadaramana happen and like that? There is a section about tadaramana in later chapter, and that will become more clear when or what type of tadaramana will arise. Yeah, but first we have to know what kind of cittas can perform this function here. Okay, then investigating consciousness with the pleasant mental feeling, somanasa, santirana. So that is only wholesome resulting consciousness, right? So it can only perform the investigating consciousness, function and the tadaramana function. It does not perform the rebirth linking. Only the upeka one perform rebirth linking in this case. Okay, 5-door averting only perform the averting function, but mind-door averting, as we have already studied before, it performs the mind-door averting as well as determining consciousness during the 5-door mental process. Remember, the same type of consciousness. If it arises in a mind-door averting mind-door process, it performs the mind-door averting function. If this same type of consciousness arises in a 5-door mental process, then it performs the determining function. Okay, so it can perform 2 functions. All right, so let's continue with the list. Now, the smile producing consciousness hasitupada, the kriya citta, the smiling consciousness of the fully enlightened being, it happens during the jhavana moments. It's kind of active, no, although it's functional. Then we have the maha kusala, the 8 types of wholesome consciousness, as well as the functional consciousness, meaning when the arhats, fully enlightened being, performed good deeds. All right. So those 8 kind of 8 plus 8, so 16 types, they also happens during the jhavana moments. So remember, all the active ones, like the kusala and the akusala, and the functionals, when they're doing good, then they always only do the jhavana function only. Then how about the mahavipaka? So meaning the 8 types of resultant consciousness of these good deeds, right? Of the wholesome consciousness, resultant of the wholesome consciousness, they can perform patisandhi, bhavanga, chuti, as well as tadaramana. So this resultant consciousness, okay? Then let's look at the 5 material, wholesome, and functional. So these are the jhana cittas, right? The jhana cittas also happens during the jhavana. It's active, no? The person is practicing samatha meditation, no? So it happens here in the jhavana. Now, its resultant, what can it its resultant can only perform rebirth, life continuum, and chuti. So that means that a person, if he attains the rupavachara jhana, or here also the same thing, arupavachara jhana, its resultant will give rebirth in the rupavachara or arupavachara realm, no? So that being will be reborn there with this type of consciousness, rebirth consciousness. So these types of resultant, they perform the rebirth, bhavanga, and chuti. Okay. Then how about lokutara cittas? Then this magga and phala, meaning the enlightenment cittas, they will only arise during the jhavana moments. Also, okay. So that's the what type of cittas they. All type of cittas, what kind of function they can perform. Now there is another table which is just flipped it here. So here is the function and here is the cittas. So it's convenient also when you want to see like this rebirth and bhavanga and death function. These 3 functions can be performed by what? So in this case, then we can also see at a glance, either by the investigating consciousness or the sense sphere wholesome, or the Rupa Vachara, Arupa Vachara resultant. No? So 19 Cittas altogether can perform these three functions. And all the other type is actually just the same, but it's just a different way of looking at it. It's looking at function and Cittas, or Cittas and functions. So until here, is it clear? Well, this table, you can find them in the comprehensive manual of the Abhidhamma.
Might be, I'm sorry, I still don't, I'm seeing like 11 Cittas for registration.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know what the importance of it, like how is Tadaramana important, or why is it important? I still don't get it. And I know I should just wait, but if you could just in one sentence tell me something.
Yeah. Okay. So in later chapters, we will get into more details. But if you say that whether they are very important or not, I would say maybe not very important, because it depends on the object, actually. If the object is very obvious, then after tasting it, then there's some residues, no? Like the boat, when it goes with a lot of force, then the wave behind the boat, there will be lots of ripples and waves behind, no? After the boat. So that's just the aftertaste of the same object that Javana has just experienced. So it happens because nature works that way, because the object was strong, and after that, then just some aftertaste is remaining there. And as you can see, only the Vibhaka Cittas can perform registration, can perform Tadaramana. So for spiritual development, for improving, for cultivation, what is important is Javana, right? How we react to what we are experiencing. So whatever is Vipaka, we cannot change it anyway. So it is already something that is done, and it is just happening because conditions fulfilled, and then so resultant just arise. So in a way, it happens because of its nature. Yeah.
So let me just give you like what I thought it is, and then you can say no or yes or probably no. So I thought it's like, because of the name, probably, I thought it's like registering what type of karma has been, experienced or something.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Just forget about the English name. Tadaramana means that object. So the citta that takes the object that is being taken by the Javana, and that's it. So sometimes it's called registration, but in another table, it's also called sometimes retention. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So not necessarily. It doesn't really register anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Bruce. Sorry, Bruce, we can't hear you. Yeah, I think your mic is on now. Can you try to speak? No, we can't hear you. Or do you want to type the questions on the chat? In the chat? Yeah. So yeah, we'll wait for your question there. Okay. Yep. So
I have one question.
Yes, Amar.
So the jhana moments, right? The jhana moments, there won't be any other chittas, right? Bhavanga, mind or consciousness, santana, only the javana, right? During the jhana moments, absolute jhana moments. Like one is in the, first or second or jhana, will it have other types of consciousness?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
Like someone is in jhana, right?
Yes.
Let's say first jhana
Mhm.
or second jhana or any
Mhm.
other jhana.
Mhm.
Will there be a Bhavanga chitta or Tadamanana or other chittas?
Cannot. It can, because it is a wholesome chitta, no? It itself, let's go back to this graphic. I mean, this one more in front. Oops. Yeah, here. Okay, so this one.
Right.
If you look at the fine material or the immaterial wholesome chittas, they are actually kusala chittas.
Right,
when a
right.
person is in jhana, he's practicing meditation, so that is actually an active chitta. It is a wholesome chitta. So kusala and akusala can only happen in the jhavana moment, no any other moment.
No, that's not my question actually.
So
that is obvious. I'm talking about like when you are like meditating, there won't be a Bhavanga chitta, right? Or will there be?
Will there be bhavanga chitta?
Yeah.
So there will be bhavanga chitta before the jhana process.
Yeah, before the jhana. So if you enter into the jhana, let's say you enter into jhana.
Then you enter into jhana, then there will be the first time when you enter the jhana, then there will be a specific amount of jhana chittas that will arise, and then that first jhana process will finish and bhavanga will arise, and then the person enter, and then another process will continue, and then that at that time there will be jhana for however much time that person stayed in that jhana. But when that finished, then bhavanga chitta will arise again.
No, that part I finish, I understand, but let's say like one is in the jhana for 1 hour, so during
Purely
all this
jhana in the whole hour.
Jhana only, right?
Yes, jhana for whole hour. Yeah. In the next chapter, in the mental process, we will look at that too.
Okay, thank you.
In the next chapter, we are going to look at different kinds of mental processes. So we are going to look at, of course, the five sense door, as we saw already. There were different kinds of objects, how it happens. Then we will look at also the jhana processes. Then we will also look at, of course, the rebirth processes, and also the death process, and also we'll also look at the enlightenment processes. So all these different processes, how it happened, and then we will look at it in next chapter. Yes, what can you please? Oh, okay. Yep.
I think my microphone's working now.
Ah, good. Yes, Bruce, please go ahead.
I should have asked that question earlier.
Let me see. So do you want to read your own question?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so from what I understand, being born a human is the best and most beneficial way of getting to nirvana. So is there some way that we can guarantee we'll be reborn a human in our next life?
Yes, actually there is.
I'm surprised. Thanks.
Yeah, if a person is okay, there are different cases. If a person already attained at least Sotapanna, at least the first stage of enlightenment, then the door to the woeful state is being closed. So that person for the next life will be surely reborn into the a good life. No, so it's called good destination. So meaning human or above, human or deva or above. And for that being, not necessarily human life is the best place for him to attain further attainment, because he has already known the Dhamma. So even if he was reborn into the non-material realm, even there, because he already had attained the first stage of enlightenment, so he can continue developing even there. So even in any kind of realm, he can continue developing. But of course, lifespan there is very long, no? So he might have to stay in samsara for a longer time, but there is less suffering also in those other realms. So maybe for them, it is better in a deva realm or in other place than human even. Now, for those who have not yet attained any type of any stage of enlightenment yet, then for those person, there is also a way that most probably next life will be human again. That's if the person, have you heard about the 10 vipassana jnana, the 10 type of vipassana wisdom?
I got to think about it. 10.
Yeah, so in later chapter we will talk about that. But if a person has understood have developed wisdom to a certain extent that is very close to a sotapanna, that is very close to the stream enterer. He has not yet experienced the magga and phala citta yet, but his understanding about mind and matter, about anicca, dukkha, and anatta is of a very high level. So those person is called a chula sotapanna, meaning a minor sotapanna, a small sotapanna. So he hasn't actually experienced the magga and the phala, the path consciousness and the fruition consciousness yet, but he is very close. So if he passed away at that lifetime without actually becoming a stream enterer, without attaining the first stage of enlightenment, but he's very close, his wisdom is very close, then the next lifetime, he will be reborn as a human again.
So I guess I kind of hate to ask this question, but if someone commits suicide, are they going to be reborn as a human? I have a friend that recently committed suicide because I'm just wondering.
It's very hard to say. It depends on the. In next chapter we will see about the death process. So
Okay.
At that time it will become more clear. But
that's good enough.
Yeah, it is a little bit very hard to say because it really depends what happened in his mind and the last moments when he is passing away. No, so yeah. Okay, I think we should stop here.
Well, you said before that you used the word understanding when you said that somebody have an understanding that is very close to a sotapanna. But which kind of understanding you mean? Intellectual or at practical level?
Of course, wisdom.
All right.
Yeah.
But wisdom can be also like, okay, for example, I understand that stealing is not good. So I have a right view. So this one is the kind of understanding that you need, or
so not only intellectual understanding is not good enough, but of course we know that stealing is not good, and this is right. But then we need more. We need more wisdom, especially if we are talking about to becoming very close, a wisdom very close to be the first stage of enlightenment. We're actually talking about the understanding of nama and rupa, also the understanding of how things arise and how it passes away, and causes and condition, that everything is cause and effect, like this kind of understanding. Welcome. Okay. Yes, Edith.
So I think to me, Bruce touched on a very interesting or even sensitive topic. I remember I was following a monk, and as I understood, he did commit suicide. So I'm just wondering, like, if someone spent his life as a monk and then they decide to commit suicide, like how likely is that they go to the lower realms?
It very much depends on his level of attainment, and it also depends on his mind state in the last moments, like before dying.
Of course.
And so it is really, really very hard to say, because we cannot say that because he has been a monk therefore it will be like this or like that, because being a monk also, there are many different levels, or maybe the person has already have some kind of attainment, or maybe that person, he has very good sila, but maybe he haven't have any attainment, or so there are so many different it can be so different, so it is very hard to say, but there are different cases. So for example, in the times of the Buddha, there was a monk, and then he decided to commit suicide, because he thought life is just dukkha, and it is nothing worth living like that. So at the moment he cut his neck, or when he cut, at that moment he contemplated on that pain, or on that mind and matter, and just before that he got fully enlightened. That was so lucky, or well, it is his practice, no? But because of that, then after that lifetime, there is no more rebirth for him. So just at that moment, he attained. But that is not easy, right? So that is not so easy. That monk, because he has been practicing so long for all his life, and he was ready, and in that moment, it just happened that way, no? So this is one case. And there are cases also, because when a person decides to commit suicide, most of the time there is some kind of dosa, right? Some kind of aversion towards life, aversion towards what's happening, or like, I don't want to continue with this anymore. So if a person commits suicide or pass away with this kind of mind state, because it is unwholesome, so it is most probably then some unwholesome karma can arise at that time to give a rebirth into the lower realms. So it is very, very, very hard to say exactly. Only
So just very quick two related questions. One is like, is it very related to this like, is it more harmful to themselves if they are a monk and they commit suicide than, for example, if a lay person commits a suicide?
I don't know, actually. Let me ask my teacher. Get back to you next.
Okay, so the second one is that if someone is already a Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, or an Arahant, they would not commit suicide, right?
I don't think so.
Maybe there are Arahants, yes.
I will also confirm that. Yeah, I will also confirm, because I don't remember. Yeah, because I don't want to give you incorrect answer, so I will ask and get back to you. Okay, so let's close today's session. Let's share merits and also dedicating our effort for the attainment of Nibbana. Okay. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccaya hotu. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccaya hotu. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccaya hotu. Itam no punyam savasatanam pajima. Itam no punyam savasatanam pajima. Itam no punyam savasatanam pajima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you so much.